get ready to rumble! What up, y'all? Welcome to another edition of Throwdown Thursday. We got NFL football, we got college football action, and of course, we got the election. Let's go ahead and check where everything's at right now. So it looks like Joey B is up on Big Donnie, 264 to 214. I'm filming this Thursday morning, so if things change by the time this episode comes out, that's why. Looks like Joey B only needs 6 votes to hit the 270, and there's 4 states right now, Georgia, Nevada, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, that are on the edge. If any one of these states goes Joey B's way, he's going to win the election. It looks like in Nevada it's exactly 6 votes. There's only 75% reporting, and I think he's only up by about 8,000. So this still could go anyway. I think both camps got their lawyers ready to fight anything that's going on, so who knows how long this is going to get dragged out. Definitely a little bit closer race than the forecast predicted, especially in the general vote. Joey B is only up about 2%, about 4 million was projected that he'd win the general election, a lot more than that. So we still got a close race. I mean, again, I don't mind who wins, but if Joey B can pull this out and cash this ticket for me and help forgive all my sins I have committed on making picks in the NFL and the NCAA, I would be gladly grateful, gambling gods. Throw a homie a bone. All right, let's go ahead and recap the NFL action from last week. Falcons take down the Panthers on Thursday night. The Falcons just had a way better pass rush. Panthers couldn't protect Teddy Bridgewater, and Julio Jones seemed like he was open all night. The Bills take down the Patriots 24 to 21. The Patriots had a bunch of people on the IR. Edelman was out, Gilmore was out, the other receiver Harry was out. Yet they still played tough and were able to pull out 3 touchdowns on this Bills team. I thought the Bills were going to come out and smash them with all the injuries and just seemed like being a better team in the first place, but the Patriots still hang tough. That's kind of what they do. Bengals upset the Titans, and it was supposed to be a shootout. It kind of picked up in the second half, but hey, how about the Bengals for hanging tough and getting a win out there? I said Zach Taylor was on the clock. The Bengals seem to be more competitive every week. They finally get a really good win, so hey, good for the Bengals. The Raiders travel across the country to take down the Browns in a sloppy weather game. It was windy. It just started raining out of nowhere. Perfect Cleveland weather. You thought the Browns might be able to win a game just trying to jam the ball down their throat, but they couldn't get any points on the board. We're going to see how OBJ being out of the lineup continues to affect the Browns moving forward. Colts laid the smackdown on the Lions. Rivers had a day. I mean, I feel like Rivers is the kind of QB, he'll definitely put it to teams that really aren't that great, but then he'll start throwing picks once he starts getting pressure in his face. The Lions just don't have a whole lot on defense. They got Stafford and Galladay on offense, but that's just not enough really to compete with some of the better teams in the league. Vikings, in a huge surprise, take down the Packers. I mean, the Packers are 5-2. They've been playing really well on offense, but they could not stop Dalvin Cook in that game. Oh my goodness. And they couldn't really capitalize on this weak defense by the Vikings. I mean, the Packers have one of the better offenses in the league. The Vikings give up like 30 points a game on defense, and the Packers only get 22. Just not a good performance by the Packers. Good job, Vikes. In the not-so-surprising blowout, Chiefs take down the Jets 35-9. This was a huge spread. Probably still should have took the Chiefs, but it's just too big. But, of course, I mean, the Jets are going to be the Jets. The Jets pretty much scored like 9-10 points every game. They just keep doing what they do every game. Dolphins come out and lay the shellac to the Rams. The Rams were in a really tough spot this past week, and they were coming off a short week. The Dolphins were coming off a bye. Tua came into the game and didn't really do much. I think he threw for about 100 yards. But the Dolphins' defense got 2 scooping scores. Well, one of them was almost a touchdown. And they got a punt return. They came out juiced for that game. In an absolute slobber knocker, the Steelers take down the Ravens. That game was amazing. Both defenses were playing tough. Both offenses had to kind of figure out ways to get tough yards. The Ravens were driving down. That came down to the last play of the game. Easily one of the best games I've seen so far in the league. But hey, the Steelers are still undefeated. How about that? Broncos edge out the Chargers, making a huge comeback, being down almost 3 touchdowns at one point. Chargers come off a big win last week and then can't get it done to the Broncos, who are banged up and really aren't that good in the first place. So I don't know. I thought this Chargers team was about an average team in the league, but they just might be kind of below average. They seem to have talent. They just can't put it together. They do have a ton of injuries themselves, though, so that's something to consider as well. But yeah, good job, Broncos. The Saints take down the Bears in overtime. The Saints looked like it was going to control most of this game, but the Bears kept hanging around. It's kind of what the Bears have been doing all season. Really good game, but yeah, I mean, Breeze just, gets the win in the overtime. Seahawks take down the Niners in a high-scoring affair. Yeah, this was the highest total on the day at 53 and definitely lived up to it. I mean, the Seahawks are going to score a bunch of points, it seems like, on anybody, but it seems like they're going to give up a lot of points as well. The Niners just don't have enough to compete with the firepower of the Seahawks. As most people predicted, Ben DiNucci is just not the guy that's going to save the Cowboys, but I don't know who can at this point. Eagles take down the Cowboys in a blowout. Yeah, Cowboys are just bad. They might be as bad as the Jets. I mean, maybe slightly better. They do have some more talent on offense still, but this defense is bad, and they don't have a QB. And the Buccaneers edge out the Giants. Congrats to the Giants for hanging tough on Monday night. I thought this would be a game where, since it's on national TV, the Bucs would ramp it up and show how good they are to everybody, but they let the Giants stick around. The Giants almost came back and tied it to send it to overtime. But Bucs are still a really good team, and Giants are still just don't have enough this year. So here's what my weekend looks like last week in the NFL. Panthers could not protect their QB. The Falcons just ate them up all game. Packers laid a stinker against the Vikings, who they should have dominated. Steelers pull out that crazy game against the Ravens. The Rams and Finns still hit the under, even though the Dolphins pretty much scored 3 touchdowns on defense and special teams. Bills, again, I thought they would be able to put away the Patriots with all the injuries and just not being the same team as last year, but of course they can't get it done. And Titans and Cincy, the game literally came down to a PAT. The Titans had to make it. I would have hit the over. He missed it. I pushed. This is the second PAT that's burned me this year. Gambling gods, why? All right, so this week we're not making some minor adjustments to the power rankings. It's halfway through the season. We got a better gauge on all the teams right now. We're doing a complete reshuffle. I'm also going to shrink the power totals. At this point of the year, there's just a lot of injuries, so teams are a little bit closer to one another than at the beginning of the year when everybody's at full power. I'm just going off my gut right here. I just want to get a good baseline for all these teams, and then we'll continue to tweak all the power ratings moving forward. So the Chiefs, I'm definitely going to still leave at the top. I know the Steelers are undefeated, but if it came down to it, I'm still taking the Chiefs over the Steelers in a heads-up matchup. I'm going to go ahead and shrink the Chiefs to -8. We're going to put the Steelers in at number 2 and make them a 7.5. To me, the next 2 best teams are the Ravens and the Bucks. I think I would still take the Ravens in a heads-up matchup. So we're going to make them -7, and then we're going to take the Bucks and put them in right behind the Ravens at -6.5. I'm probably taking the Seahawks next. I mean, they have the most dangerous offense in the league right now. So we're going to make them a 6. And then we kind of get into a territory where the teams are pretty similar. I think I would still take, despite the Packers dropping the ball last week, I'm still going to take the Packers right behind the Seahawks. And then the Saints right behind them. Next, we got the Bills, Titans, Colts, and the Rams. I think the Rams were in a bad spot last week. That Dolphins loss looks pretty bad, but I think the Dolphins are a little bit better than advertised, and I think the Rams are just in a tough spot. So I'm going to put them behind the Saints. I'm going to take the Titans. Even though they just lost to the Bengals and Steelers on back-to-back weeks, they did beat the Bills heads up, and the Bills haven't been too special so far, or recently at least. And then I'm going to put the Bills right behind the Titans. We're going to slide the Colts right behind the Bills. They did beat the Bears heads up, and the Bears I just think are just not that tough. Just they have no offense. So we're going to have the Bears at 2.5. The Cards are probably the next best team. I mean, they did get a solid win against the Seahawks. And then I think I'm going to take the Raiders right behind the Cards at 1.5. They did just beat the Browns, and they took the only team to take down the Chiefs this year. We'll go ahead and put the Browns right behind the Raiders. Next up, we got this Niners team that I think is the next best team, but they got tons of injuries. So I think I'm just going to give them the ranking where I think they would be if all their players that could play this year were in there. But this week, we're definitely going to have to knock them down for the injuries they have going on. But I'm going to give them a -0.5. The Dolphins are 4-3. They have a better defense than people realize. I don't know how good they're going to be moving forward, especially with Tua in there, but I'm going to go ahead and make them the average team in the league. Now here's where things get really messy. The Eagles are 3-4. They have talent. They just don't seem to be putting it together, but let's just hope in the second half of the season they do more than what they've done so far. I think the Falcons, with all the talent they have, should be better than what they have been. They have lost some very fluky games, or else they'd have a little bit better record. I feel like this Lions team has hung tough in most games other than the Colts game recently. The Vikings have tons of firepower despite having a crappy defense, but as long as Dalvin Cook's in that lineup, it seems like they're going to be able to score and move the ball. The Texans really haven't shown much at all this year, but they do still have Deshaun Watson. That's got to count for something. Broncos have been playing teams tough and been getting some covers. Got a good upset against the Chargers last week. That was pretty solid. So I'm going to put the Chargers right in behind the Broncos at plus 3.5. I guess it's finally time to add the Pats to the mix here. I thought the Panthers were going to be a little bit stronger than they were, but they just do not have talent right now. They just, I don't know, there's nothing really excites me about them. So I'm going to go ahead and put the Bengals over them, who have been competing, and I know at least every week this passing offense is going to show up for the Bengals. So we're going to put the Panthers at plus 5. Now down to the poopy teams in the league. I'm going to give the Giants a slight edge, but we're done giving half-point bumps. These teams are bad. Giants are 6. Skins are 7. Jags are 8. Cowboys are 8.5. And the Jets, until they actually get a win, are the worst team in the league. All right, so here are my new updated power rankings. Again, we'll keep tweaking them as we go. I wanted to shrink the field with the numbers just because there's injuries. Teams are going to be a little bit closer to each other than they typically are at the beginning of the season when teams are at full talent and full strength. I feel like this system is solid just because with the salary cap in the NFL, teams are only going to be able to pay for so much talent per team. So just kind of capping, how good the best team is and how worse and how terrible the worst team is, kind of helps still hit the numbers about right. We'll see how close I am once we start looking at these lines. But yeah, here are the power rankings for what I got upcoming. I'm going to go ahead and put these in the description if you want to refer to them later. Let's go ahead and take a look at these lines for Week 9. All right, so for the Thursday night game, we got the Packers going to San Francisco. Packers have a top 3 scoring defense. They're 7th in yards per play. The Niners have been pretty average. They have the 11th best rushing offense in the league. Defensively, the Packers are 20th in scoring and 23rd in yards per play. The Niners are 10th in scoring and 8th in yards per play. Injuries for this week, the Packers are missing a guard. They got a tackle who's questionable. Another tackle who's questionable. Missing a corner, missing 2 corners. Aaron Jones is questionable. Lazard's still on the IR. They're missing a safety. With the Niners, Sherman and Ansel still on the IR. Jordan Reed's questionable. They need everybody they can get right now. Garoppolo is out indefinitely. D Ford's still on the IR. Tart is questionable. Mostert's still on the IR. Coleman's downgraded to out after finally getting back in the lineup last week. Solomon Thomas still on the IR. Kittle is out indefinitely. Deebo Samuel is out. All right, so for this matchup, I got the Packers at minus 5.5, plus 2 for their injuries. And then I got the Niners at minus 0.5, but then plus 5 for all the people that they have out right now. I mean, they're decimated on offense especially. And then minus 1 for being at home. So my spread on the game is minus 7. Vegas opened up this line at Packers by 7. Now it's moved to 7.5. Probably going to stay off this game. I have no idea what the Niners are going to be able to offer with all those injuries. But hey, at least I recalibrated my power rankings pretty well. Next up, we got the Chiefs hosting the Carolina Panthers. Panthers have one of the worst total offenses in the league. I mean, go figure, they're missing their best offensive player. KC, on the other hand, has climbed back up after playing the Jets to the 2nd total scoring offense in the league and 3rd in yards per play. Defensively, Carolina's a pretty average defense. Although KC is 3rd in scoring defense, we know that's fraudulent. They're more of just an average defense, and they have a 12 yards per play to kind of prove that. Injury-wise, the Panthers are missing a tackle. They're still missing Short, missing another D tackle. Bridgewater was banged up last game, but he is probable. They're missing a guard, though. KC is a tackle questionable. Okafor is on the IR. Sammy Watkins is questionable. Clark is questionable for the Chiefs. So I got the Chiefs at minus 8, plus 1 for their injuries. I got the Panthers at plus 5, plus 2 for their injuries, minus 1 for being at home, and minus 1 for getting the long break coming off Thursday night. My spread on the game is minus 12. Looks like this game opened up at minus 10.5, and it's pretty much stayed that way at most books. Part of me just wants to bet on the Chiefs every week, but 10.5, this Panthers team could keep it close. My numbers, I don't know. I'm only a 1.5 off on my numbers, so I don't know. We'll see what happens with this one. Next up, we have the Vikings hosting the Lions. Both teams are pretty average on scoring offense. I mean, the Vikings score 26 a game. The Lions got 25.2. Not too far off there. The Vikings are way better in yards per play than the Lions, though. And the Lions have the worst rushing offense in the league. Defensively, both teams are bad. In yards, the Lions aren't as bad. In yards per play, however, they somehow managed to fail there. And the Vikings just have a bad defense. Injury-wise, Trufant is questionable. Got a couple tackles that are banged up, but look like they might probably going to play. Davis is out indefinitely with COVID. For the Vikings, Barr is still on the IR. Bunch of corners that are questionable or out. So I got the Lions at +1.5, and I got the Vikings at +2. Both of them had similar injury reports, so I'm not going to factor that in. And then I got the Vikes -1 for being at home. My spread on the game is Vikes by a half point. Vegas opened up this game with Vikes by 2. Now it's jumped to -4. I don't think the Vikings should be more than a field goal favorite against anybody. Their defense is terrible. They have the ability to score on offense, but they're just not going to be able to stop many people. I'm definitely going to be looking to take the Lions in this spot on Sunday. Next up, we got the Titans hosting the Bears. Titans have one of the best scoring offenses in the league and in yards per play, while Chicago Bears are one of the most offensively deficient teams in the league. Defense, it's a completely different story. Bears are still about 8th in scoring defense, 9th in yards per play. Tennessee's defense really isn't that great, especially their passing defense is 27th in the league. For the Bears, Graham is questionable. They got D-tackle questionable. Miller, the wide receiver, is probable to come back. Wims, he's suspended for throwing haymakers during the Saints game. And they're missing a corner and a tackle. Tennessee has a punter who's injured. Clowney's probable. A couple other players that are questionable. All right, so for this, I got the Titans -4 and the Bears -2.5. And then -1 for being at home. So I got this spread on the game, Titans by a half point. Vegas opened this up with Titans by 6.5. Now it's moved to 6 in pretty much most places. I mean, the Titans have been pretty good this year, but they definitely just laid a stinker against the Bengals. And I think the Bears are kind of right where we thought they are. I mean, they're a good team. They're just not great. They don't have the offensive firepower. They've definitely been keeping it close with most teams, especially teams that are better than them. I mean, yeah, I like my power rankings. I think Titans are definitely a better team than the Bears, but I don't know if they're 6 points better. This game shouldn't be over a field goal, in my opinion. Definitely be looking at the Bears this Sunday. Definitely see how these injuries play out for the weekend, though, too. Next, we got the Seahawks traveling to Buffalo. Again, Seahawks, most dangerous offense in the league. Buffalo is not the same team they were at the beginning of the year. Still solid, but they're 19th in scoring offense, although they are 9th in total yards per play. Defensively, the Seahawks can't really stop anybody, but if they're outscoring people, it's going to work. They're 29th in yards per play, which is, ugh. Buffalo is supposed to have a stout defense, but they're looking pretty average right now. 14th in total score and 20th in yards per play. For the Seahawks, Iupati's out. Dunlap's going to get played, just acquired from the Bengals. Carlos Hyde is out. Jamal Adams is questionable. Griffin's questionable. Carson's questionable. Norman and Hyde are questionable for the Bills. Brown is questionable. I got a bunch of people that are questionable. So I got the Seahawks at -6, and I got the Bills at -3.5. I didn't calculate the injuries. They look pretty similar. Everybody's questionable. That would definitely change on game time if some of those people went to out. And I got the Bills -1 for being at home. So my spread on the game are the Seahawks by 1.5. Vegas opened up this game with Seahawks by 1.5. Now it's moved to 3. I think the Seahawks are definitely going to score in this game. However, I think the Seahawks defense is really bad, so I think the Bills are going to be able to score. Trying to take the Seahawks on the road, having to travel across the country, playing the 1 o'clock game will be tough. The Seahawks are just one of those teams that they get to score in bunches and can easily put up, be up 2 or 3 touchdowns at any given point in the game. The Bills are definitely going to have to get out to a jump in this one because the Seahawks are going to score, so the Bills need to score as early as often as they possibly can. And they probably need to control the ball a little bit, keep Russell off the field. Probably going to stay off this one, though. This is one of those games that the scoring could be all over the place. Next up, got the Broncos traveling to Atlanta. Broncos, one of the worst offenses in the league. The Falcons, despite all the talent that they have, they're kind of right in the middle of the road when it comes to scoring. They're second in the league in passing yards. I mean, they can get down the field, but they either just cough it up or kick field goals. Defensively, the Broncos have been pretty average, though it seems like they're playing teams tough. They are 11th in yards per play. The Falcons are 22nd in total score. They are last in yards per play. Although last week against the Panthers, it does look like they have a pass rush. We'll see if that continues. For Denver, they're missing a D tackle. Obviously, Miller's still out. They're missing a nose tackle as well, out for the season. Bouye's questionable. Bunch of other players questionable. Philip Lindsay's questionable. Falcons seem pretty healthy. Calvin Ridley's questionable. They got a corner questionable. They got a D tackle out with COVID. I swear the Broncos at +3, then +2 for their injuries. They've just been banged up all year. I got the Falcons at +1 for their injuries, -1 for being at home, and then -1 for getting the extended break coming off Thursday night. My spread on the game are the Falcons -5. Vegas opened up this game, the Falcons -3.5. Now it's moved to -4 in some places. My rankings are only about a point off of this spread, and I definitely don't feel like laying points with the Falcons. And I don't know, this Denver team, they've kept it close on people, but with this firepower that the Falcons have, whatever games they do put it together, they could easily put this line away. Probably going to stay off this one. Next up, we got the Colts hosting the Ravens. Both offenses are pretty similar, 9th and 10th in scoring, and then 17th and 18th in yards per play. Baltimore does have the best rushing offense in the league. Defensively, both teams are stout. Baltimore's number 2. The Colts are number 5 when it comes to scoring. And then they're both top 5 in yards per play. Ingram's still questionable for the Ravens. They're missing a D tackle. Stanley, their tackle, is going to be out for the season. For the Colts, Hilton is questionable. Still a bunch of players on the IR. Not so many new injuries, though. All right, so I got the Ravens at -7, +1 for their injuries. And I got the Colts at -3, +0.5 point for their injuries, but -1 for being at home. My spread on the game is Ravens by 2.5. This game opened up at Baltimore by 4, and it's been bet down to 2.5 or 2 at some places. So if this is just a typical game during the year, I would probably take the Ravens. I mean, I feel like Phillip Rivers is going to absolutely crumble against this defense. He's going to have nowhere to throw, and eventually the Ravens will get the ball in a short field. However, the Ravens did just come off a crazy game against the Steelers. They're in a letdown spot right here. They're a favorite on the road. I mean, again, home field advantage is not the same this year, but my gut's telling me to go with the Ravens, but the numbers and the coward inside of me is probably going to stay off. Although I'll probably wake up Sunday morning and just take the Ravens. Who knows? We'll see how these injuries play out. These next couple games, we got people battling for draft pick position. We got the Texans traveling to the Jaguars. Texans are 22nd scoring, yet 4th in yards per play, which means they can move the ball. They just can't put it in the end zone. Jags are just bad on offense, and they're even worse on defense. Although the Texans have nothing to write home about their defense, too. These are just two bad defenses. For the Texans, Bradley Roby is probable. A couple linebackers banged up. Eifert is questionable. He's always hurt. Jack's questionable. They got a guard questionable. Minshew is out. Jay Luton has been named the starter for Sunday. Oh my God, the Jags are not scoring any points. All right, so I got the Texans at +2.5, +0.5 point for their injuries, -1 for coming off a bye. I got the Jags at +8, +3 for their injuries. I mean, they're losing their starting QB and got a nobody coming in. And then -1 for being at home and -1 coming off a bye. In this game, I got the Texans by 11. Vegas opened up this game with Texans by 4. And then it's been bet up to 7 or 6.5 in most places. I'm definitely taking the Texans in this game. Deshaun Watson will definitely score points on this poopy Jags defense. And Gardner Minshew isn't necessarily setting the world on fire as is. They got a backup quarterback coming in who's definitely going to turn the ball over. I mean, I've seen this story a million times. I got no problem taking a shot on the Texans in this place. I mean, the Texans could give up points to the Jags. It's just without Minshew, what firepower do they even have on offense right now? I'm taking a shot with the Texans for sure. All right, next up, we get the Giants and the Skins in another stinker of a game. These teams both have two of the worst offenses in the league. They're both kind of middle in the road on defense. Actually, the Skins have the best passing defense in the league in terms of yards, and they're 7th in yards per play. Maybe I need to add the Skins a little bit higher than the Giants in the power ranking. All right, the Giants have a bunch of players questionable. Pettis is out for the Giants. The Skins have a bunch of players on the IR. Doesn't look like they have any new injuries, though. All right, so I originally had the Giants and the Skins flip-flop, but I switched them back. If the Skins have that much better of a defense, then I feel like I need to put them ahead at least by a point. All right, so like I said, I got the Giants at +7, +2 for their injuries, and then +1 coming off a short week. I got the Skins at +6, +1 for their injuries, -1 for being at home, then -1 for coming off a bye. My spread on this game are Skins by 5. Vegas opened this up with the Skins at -2.5, and it's pretty much stayed that way for everybody. I don't want to lay points with this Skins team, but we're in a situation where one team's coming off a bye and one team's coming off the short week from playing on Monday night. They're pretty much even teams, although the Skins have a little bit better defensive team. I think I'm going to lay points with the Washington Football Club this week. Holy moly. Next up, we got the Raiders playing the Chargers. Both teams are pretty average on offense. The Raiders are a little bit better. Defensively, the Raiders really aren't that great. They're 27th in yards per play. The Chargers got talent on defense, but most of that talent's hurt. They're 19th in scoring, 17th in yards per play, kind of just right in the middle of the road. Raiders got a safety questionable, a tackle questionable, another tackle questionable. Chargers are still missing Harris. Another corner, it's questionable. Guard, questionable. Looks like Joey Bosa might be getting back in the lineup. He had a concussion. Their center is out. Eckler's still on the IR. So I got the Raiders at -1.5 and +1 for their injuries. I got the Chargers at +3.5, +2 for their injuries, but -1 for being at home. I got the Raiders by 4 in this game. This line opened up with the Chargers actually favored. Now it's been bet down to even. So I might have the Raiders a little overrated, and I might have the Chargers a little underrated, but Chargers have been hurt. Even the games they've been up, they can't close out. While the stats for Vegas don't look that great, they've been closing out games. They beat the Chiefs. They just took care of the Browns after having to travel across the nation. I mean, if this line's a pick'em, I don't mind taking the Raiders in this spot. I think they're a better team than the Chargers so far from what I've seen. It's not like the Chargers have some crazy home field advantage with this palace that they just created for their stadium that's going to be completely empty. And even if they had fans in the stands, it would probably be more Raiders fans than Charger fans. Next up, we got the Dolphins traveling to Arizona. Dolphins have the 11th best scoring offense in the league. That will definitely not be the same since Tua is the starter now. He's just not going to get the same production that Fitzpatrick had been. Cardinals are actually living it up to all the hype with all the offensive firepower they have. They're 8th in offense, although it's not because of passing with Hopkins and Murray. It's more because of rushing. I mean, Murray does pick up a bunch of rushing yards as well. They are 6th in total yards per play. Defensively, the Dolphins have the #1 scoring defense in the league. Now, this might be misleading. They are 20th in passing yards given up, 23rd in rushing yards given up, 19th in yards per play. Arizona has a pretty decent defense as well. They're 9th in total scoring. They're 15th in yards per play. So they're just, kind of average, maybe slightly above average defense. Miami's pretty healthy. They're missing a D tackle, and then Breida is questionable. Although Gaskin's going to be on the IR from last week. Cards are missing a linebacker. Kirkpatrick is questionable. Missing some defensive players are questionable. So we got the Dolphins as the average team in the league at 0, plus a half point for their injuries. I got the Cards at -2, plus a point for their injuries, but -1 for being at home, -1 for coming off a bye. I got the Cards winning by 2.5. Cards opened up at -5, moved down to about -4.5 at most places. Miami is just one of these sneaky teams right now, and I hope they put Fitzpatrick back in the lineup because they're still in the hunt. And as much as Tua is probably going to have a great career, I think he was awesome in college, he's just not better than Fitzpatrick at this moment in time. I think a lot of people will look at a Cards and Miami matchup and think that the Cards are definitely better. I don't think this game should be more than a field goal. The Cards are coming off a bye. That could be a nice little edge for them, but I think this Dolphins team is sneaky good. Even in the games they've lost, they've been competitive. They housed the Niners earlier this year. They just took care of the Rams, even though they were in a great spot. I mean, Miami not only do they have 4 wins, they got a couple of good wins in there. Maybe they've just hit teams at the right time during the year. I feel like the public perception on this game is to take the Cardinals, so I'm going to go ahead and zag and probably look at taking the Dolphins in this one. I think the Dolphins are a strong overall team. We'll see if they can keep it up. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals blew out the Dolphins either, but I think the Dolphins have a slight edge here. Next up, we got the Steelers traveling to the Dallas Cowboys. This spread is 14 points. Again, you'd be an absolutely crazy person to bet on the Cowboys right now. That's just so many points, and especially the Steelers coming off a crazy game. I could definitely see the offense not coming out at full power and just letting the Cowboys hang around purely out of lack of effort and ability to perform with coming off a big game. Just staying off this game. Next up, we got a rematch from the beginning of the season. Tampa Bay hosting the Saints. This is definitely going to be a banger. Saints are 7th in total score. Bucks are 4th, although the Saints are 10th in yards per play. Tampa Bay is 20th in yards per play. Defensively, though, it's a different story. Saints just not as tough at holding people this year, while the Bucs are 7th in total score and 2nd in yards per play. The Saints still have a guard on a 4-game suspension. They got a bunch of players questionable. Antonio Brown is eligible to play Sunday for the Bucs. Chris Godwin is still questionable. All right, I got the Saints at -5, and I got the Bucs at -6.5. +1 for coming off the short week, but -1 for being at home. So I got the Bucs by -1.5. Vegas opened up this game with the Saints as a 1-point favorite, and now it's moved to the Bucs being a 4-point favorite. Listen, I think the Bucs are good, but I think the Saints are still really good too. With the Bucs coming off a short week and this being over a field goal spread, I'm definitely going to be looking to take the Saints as an underdog. Anytime a good team like the Saints is catching points against somebody, I definitely look at taking it. And to be honest, over a field goal, I would probably take the Saints against anybody other than the Chiefs maybe. And Breeze is definitely going to be motivated for this. Him and Tom Brady are going back and forth with who's going to have the career touchdown records. So this is definitely going to be a fun one to watch. And I think I'm going to go ahead and take the Saints. And in the Monday night matchup, we got the Jets hosting the Patriots. We haven't looked at the Jets in a while. Let's see how they're doing. Oh, they're dead last in offense, while the Patriots really aren't much better. Defensively, the Patriots are right in the middle of the road, and the Jets have one of the worst defenses in the league. Yep, pretty much what we expected. Edelman is still out indefinitely. Gilmore is still questionable. Jets have a bunch of people questionable. All right, so I got the Pats at +4, the Jets at +9, and then -1 for being at home. My spread on the game is Pats by 4. Vegas opened this up with the Pats at -1. Now it's jumped to 7.5. My numbers here are telling me to take the Jets. My brain is telling me to stay off the Jets. And I'm not going to be laying more than a touchdown with the Pats right now. They just don't have the firepower to put people away. I mean, the Jets are pretty much going to score 10 points like they do every game. The question is, can the Patriots at least get to 20? I don't know. I'm going to stay off this one. Probably not going to watch too much of it either. All right, here are the games that I'm looking at going into the weekend. I don't know if I'm going to take these necessarily, but I'll probably try to find one or two of these that might smell bad and get them off my list. But I don't know. I felt good about a couple of totals last week, so I might add those to the lineup as well. So here's what I'm looking at. We'll see what happens. All right, y'all, that is the NFL. Let's go ahead and take a look at college football. So last week, I went 3-3 in the NCAA, which is a step in the right direction. As you can see, I've been getting drilled so far. Notre Dame had a chance to cover on the last play of the game, but they got stuffed and time expired. Forget you, Notre Dame. Arkansas got a garbage touchdown late to cover against A&M. Michigan sucks. I have no idea why I took them. Florida, even though they haven't played in the last 3 weeks, I didn't see they haven't even been practicing the time, they still beat the pants off Missouri. Ohio State Buckeyes are the only team that I can trust. And Memphis, I was going to stay off Memphis against Cincinnati, but the Bear on College Game Day picked them, so I thought maybe he knew something that I didn't know. And then, of course, Cincinnati comes out and stomps the Tigers. So 3-3. So now I am 11-22-1 on the college football season. Again, my recommendation for you is figure out which games I'm picking and then just pick the other team. That'll probably be best for your bank account. Friday night, we got the Hurricanes traveling to NC State. This game opened up at -8.5. Now it's up to 10.5 or 10. Both teams are scoring about the same points on offense. They both pretty balanced attack, good passing, good rushing attack. Defense is a different story. Miami's only giving up 22 a game. Meanwhile, the Wolfpack is giving up 34 per game, which means they're giving up more than they're scoring per game. That's a sign of not being very good. They're giving up 182 rushing yards on defense, which is bad. And NC State is still missing their starting quarterback with a fibula injury. Miami is coming off a close win to Virginia, which really isn't that impressive. NC State is coming off getting spanked by UNC. I personally think that Miami's better than UNC, and with NC State's QB being out, I don't have the problem laying out all that points with the U. Also on Friday night, we got BYU playing Boise State. The spread's at about 3 pretty much everywhere. Boise has only played 2 games. BYU is 7-0, and they're 5-1-1 against the spread. The power rankings say that BYU is going to blow the doors off Boise State. Yeah, BYU has had some monster spreads so far this year. They were 31-point favorites against Western Kentucky and pushed, which is that's a big spread to cover. They covered against Texas State. They were only -3 against Houston, and they blew the doors off them. They didn't cover against the Roadrunners of Texas, San Antonio, but that team covers against everybody. They did beat the crap out of Louisiana Tech. I did hear the Bear and Stanford Steve, who I like listening to them. They watch more college football than it seems like anybody else out there. They think BYU is even better than Cincinnati. I don't know much about this Boise State team right now. I've only played 2 games, but I mean, if BYU is this good and teams don't really have a home field advantage, then if BYU is only a 3-point favorite, I think I'm going to take the Cougs and just see what happens. Pac-10's finally getting started. We got USC hosting Arizona State. Don't know anything about those teams, though, so we're going to lay off. We got Texas hosting West Virginia. Opened up as a 7-point spread. Now it's been down to about 6.5 in some places. Texas is scoring over 40 points on offense. West Virginia is not terrible, scoring 33. On defense, though, West Virginia is giving up less than 20 points a game and giving up less than 100 yards of rushing offense and only giving up 157 passing yards. This is hands down going to be the best defense that Texas has seen all year. Yeah, West Virginia is just coming off giving Kansas State a spanking. Texas did have a big win last week. This Oklahoma State team was probably better than advertised, but they did stick around and win it in the end. I don't think this Texas defense is very good. Sam Ehlinger, QB, definitely a playmaker, but they don't have a whole lot of other crazy talent on offense. They're just going to give up points on defense, and West Virginia is definitely the best defense they've seen all year. I don't think the public really thinks highly of West Virginia. Texas, obviously, one of the biggest names in college football. Yeah, if this game goes to a touchdown, I'm probably going to take West Virginia. I like them getting points in this matchup. Indiana is hosting Michigan. Michigan's only favored by 3. You know, Michigan just blew it against Michigan State last week, which is why I think this line is so low. I think Michigan is at least 2 scores better than a team like Indiana. I know Indiana got the big win against Penn State. And, of course, Michigan blew it against Michigan State. But if this line's only 3, Michigan's just got better talent. I'm going to roll with Michigan. If they burn me twice in a row, though, I can't even call myself an Ohio State fan anymore. We got the largest cocktail party in the world going on this weekend with Georgia hosting Florida. Florida is scoring 42 points a game. Georgia's not doing terrible, just right around 30 points a game. Defensively, though, completely different story. Florida's giving up 30 a game. Georgia's only giving up 16. I think this game pretty much comes down to what's going to hold up more, the firepower of Florida's offense or the strength of Georgia's defense. In my opinion, I think Florida has not seen a defense like this all year, and they're definitely not going to score like they typically do. And on offense, I think Georgia is going to have their way with Florida. I mean, that defense is bad. The spread on this is only 3.5, so I think it might be a blowout. I'm going with the Bulldogs. Utah is hosting Arizona. Oklahoma is a 37-point favorite against Kansas. Holy moly. Cincinnati is a 13.5-point favorite over Houston. Part of me thinks that spread is too big for Cincinnati to have, but at the same time, Cincinnati has been drilling teams this year, so probably going to stay off this one. As much as I want to take Houston getting all those points in this game, I'm not betting against Cincinnati 3 weeks in a row. South Carolina is hosting Texas A&M. Both teams are scoring about 30 points a game on offense. Both teams are giving up about 30 points a game on defense. South Carolina is coming off a bye. I don't know, both these teams seem about the same to me. I think Texas A&M does have a little more talent on offense. According to the numbers, they both seem like average teams scoring as much as they give up. If one team's getting more than a touchdown, then the numbers just say go with the underdog. Colorado is hosting UCLA. Oregon is a 10-point favorite over Stanford. Then we got the banger for the nighttime matchup. We got Notre Dame hosting Clemson. Even though Trevor Lawrence is out, Clemson is still a 6-point favorite over Notre Dame. Clemson's scoring 46 points a game on offense. Oh my goodness. And on defense, they're only giving up 15. Although Notre Dame's only giving up 10 points a game on defense. Something's got to give in this game. I think it's going to be a little bit higher scoring than that. So I think while the numbers make Notre Dame look like a pretty decent team, they really haven't covered a lot against the crappy schedule that they've played so far. And obviously Trevor Lawrence is out. That's definitely a huge loss. He's going to be probably the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. But the backup QB isn't a scrub. The rest of this Clemson team is just too dominant for a team like Notre Dame. Yeah, I'm taking the points with Clemson. Why not? Dabo Sweeney, bring your own guts. Let's go. Ohio State laying 37 points against Rutgers. That's beyond my threshold. As much as I want to see the Buckeyes win by 50, they could easily let off the gas after they scored 10 touchdowns in a row. So who knows? Cal is hosting Washington. Oregon State is hosting Washington State. And then that's it for all the Pac-12 games. All right, so here are the games I'm going to be looking at college football this weekend. Again, whatever games I have, I suggest you go the other way. Probably better for your pocketbooks there. All right, y'all, that's it for Throwdown Thursday. Definitely leave notes in the comments of who you like this weekend. Feel free to pick against me. I've been doing crap in college football so far this year. I'm going to start coming back in the NFL. You guys just watch, all right? I promise. But yeah, hey, thanks for tuning in this weekend, and may the betting gods bless your picks this weekend. Have a good one, y'all.